welcome back. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. It is a Tuesday, so we always turn to medical matters, but this particular conversation, it's changing the way that I'm seeing this narrative, and I'm hoping that it's going to do the same for you, especially if you are going through this journey. When cancer strikes an adult under the age of 50, doctors call it an early onset case. These cancers at younger ages are becoming more and more common. Now, a new review of cancer registry records from 44 countries found that the incidence of early onset cancers is indeed rising rapidly. Let's go inside that. What does that mean from a human perspective? Let's put the numbers away and talk to people. And we're chatting to a very young cancer patient, Lauren George, as well as a very young doctor, Dr. Emile Reed. Lauren, are you as nervous to talk about this right now in the space? How are you feeling now that this moment has arrived?
Yeah, certainly on a platform like this, I do feel a little bit nervous. But it seems like all I've done recently is talk about it, really, so.
Why? Why take that brave step? And because I think a lot of people in your own life didn't know until we saw you put this out there and saw the change physically in you. Yeah. What was it that pressed that button to say, okay, I need to start talking about this?
Well, certainly until I was actually diagnosed, until I received that phone call, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think I was going to be diagnosed at the age of 34 with a life-threatening illness. And the reason I decided to put it out there is that personally, I have been able to get hope from those who have shared before me. I've met people along the way in doing little, cupcakes of hope and things like that. And because of that, I was less afraid. And wanting to just warn everybody, like, guys, I'm 34, I've just been diagnosed with cancer. Please go check yourself. Please go.
This can happen. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's the reason that I started sharing about it. I mean, I share when I go and get a coffee or eat at a new restaurant. Why would I not share something of this sort of magnitude?
Absolutely, exactly. And what I love, I'm looking at you here. There's no pause being pressed here. Life is moving forward, and what that looks like, I'm really interested in finding. And what I love, I mean, like watching you nod your head here. This is obviously a space that you are relatively, I don't think anyone can be comfortable, but you are okay in receiving this kind of information. That first step, how important is that first phase, and what do you generally say to a patient in this phase of their journey? Because ultimately you're a person standing in front of another person.
And you see, what's even worse is I'm a person who are also affected by cancer because I've lost my mother at a young age due to cancer. I lost family members due to cancer. So I'm also a human being, except for being a professional. And the one thing, when it comes to being a professional, there's a few things that are important to me. The one thing is cancer has side effects, and we need to minimize that. The treatment of cancer has side effects. We need to minimize that as well, exploit it. And then the third thing is we want to live as long as possible in order to live all our dreams. But it's not just about living our life, it's all about living a quality life as well.
It feels like you made a decision on how you were going to approach this. There is, yes, a very practical approach, but what happened in that moment, if you will, and you had such a beautiful, you were so clear in explaining to me where you were in your life that I just immediately felt better about you, which is a crazy thing to be able to do that, but there was something happening in that mechanism, maybe the way that you're talking to yourself. What did you start to say to yourself when you got the news? Was there a penny drop moment? Are you just wired like this? Talk us through that first phase.
I am very fortunate to have a more positive disposition. So that's one of the things that I am fortunate about and grateful for. But when I received the diagnosis, of course, your mind floods with all these things. I have a young child, and my main objective is to have longevity, to be there for all her main moments. And in my mind, I went, well, there's one way, and it's going to be through this. It's going to be hard, I'm sure, and yes, it certainly is. But there's one way, and it's through, one step at a time. And if while doing that, I can perhaps help someone else, just raise that awareness. Hey, have you been to have your checkups recently? You know, I'm only 34, now 35. Please go and check yourself. Don't ignore those little niggles. And that's the way I decided I'm going to see this through. You know, look at the practical side of it, but also, you know, gain strength from where I can also assist others.
And by doing it repeatedly, by stepping up, that's what the bravery is. It's not the getting to the top of the mountain and enjoying the fruits of the labor. It's that step. It's that next step. I'm so glad you highlighted that in particular. I want to get into the moment where you got the diagnosis and almost didn't even go, or at least found the lump and almost didn't even go to the doctor, because I would imagine there are a lot of women out there right now that are in that exact same gateway. If you have any questions, if you have any insights to add, 063-408-8863, we'd love to hear from you.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for rejoining the conversation, and it's been a life-changing one for me, and it actually started a few weeks ago with an incredible young woman, Lauren George, as she explained her own cancer narrative to me. She is sat beside our good friend, Dr. Emil Reed, who, yes, moonlights as a chef, and this morning he'll be making us something delicious as we continue this conversation around cancer and that journey, the personal cost. Now, breast cancer is one of the most common forms of cancer for South African women of all races, with a lifetime risk of 1 in 27. That is very high. Lauren, again, the numbers are always the way that we try to contextualize cancer. And I'm sure you've had your fill of numbers and statistics, and especially looking into the gene side of things. I know that was really interesting, but I've got to ask you, because I felt the first time that I saw you post finding out, I had to ask you how you are twice. Does everybody do that? It's like, how are you? But how are you?
Yes.
How are you dealing with the way people are reacting to you? I know you're getting a lot of positive support for the journey that you're on, but everything's changed.
Yeah, everything certainly has changed. And, you know, you get those who sort of almost shy away because they're scared, or they don't know how to react, how to act around you. Can they be normal? Can they not be normal? Do you just have to speak about cancer all the time? And certainly, usually I'm fine, I'm okay, you know, but actually I'm not.
Yeah.
You know, there are times when I'm feeling like terrible.
A wreck.
I haven't been able to
Wreck,
move
yeah.
from one side of the bed to the other, and I'm not okay, but I'm used to actually just being like, oh, you know, I'm okay. So having those conversations with people and almost allowing them to draw me out has assisted me in so many ways as well to cope and to deal.
And not just you, it's the medical practitioners. You know what COVID gave us? Unity. It gave us a network. And I know you've had to lean on some amazing medical professionals.
Yes.
Emil, how important from your side looking in, when you see advocacy done in this way, how important is this, that we're all on the same page and understanding? It's not just about spending the big money to get people to go into shopping centers and do that. That's one side of this equation. But how important is it to see patients who are in this journey now standing up and speaking their truth?
Well, it's extremely important because in the past, people never used to speak about it. People used to shy away from speaking about cancer. The same way as HIV, for instance, there were stigma attached to it. So nowadays, people have a platform, there's social media, people come out, they talk about it. The important thing is, how do we as listeners and people who actually read these platforms, how do we respond to that? And the one thing I normally realize when I look at something like Lauren coming out, for instance, I say to myself, it could have been my daughter. Could have been my sister. Tomorrow, it might be me. And how am I going to react? So it's not about them and us. It's about we. And the important thing from a practitioner's side is to actually have the empathy, to say, come, sit down, talk, spill your heart. There's a human being behind this cancer, and cancer does not define you.
I want to feed off that, because there are these moments where you get the diagnosis, first of all, then you work through the action plan, try to understand, and it sounds like that your medical practitioners have, yes, nailed those elements of. How important is that and what's worked for you? What were those moments in terms of how you've been able to wrap your head around the information, because it feels like you have control.
Yeah.
How have, or at least a semblance of. Talk me through that journey and what's worked in terms of the people in your support structure.
So at the time that I was diagnosed, it was smack bang before Christmas weekend. And so it was at the time when everybody was going on leave, you know, even doctors, because doctors also need a break.
They're also people, yeah.
You know, if anybody. And they worked so quickly and so efficiently in order to actually get my tests done and everything. So on the day that I was diagnosed, like I said, until I received that phone call, a day early, I had been expecting my results the next day. And so I'd made plans. We were going up Table Mountain. We had family down from Johannesburg, and I'm sitting having my nails done, and I receive a phone call, and I see that name on my phone, and I thought, okay, no, this can't be good. Because why am I receiving news early?
Yeah.
And the doctor who had called me, and she said, I'm sorry to tell you, your results are back. It's cancer. Like, okay, whoa. She said, I'm going to make an appointment with a surgeon for you tomorrow. He'll come in, he'll explain everything to you. And like that, everything worked. He worked on that day. I received a phone call from him at 7 o'clock that evening.
Wow.
With the results of some of the extra scans I had. And so them giving me that information and actually having urgency to get certain things done before closing for the Christmas period had helped me so much to cope.
I just keep thinking, what if you had delayed that doctor's appointment? What if you had left it and then it was December holidays, then it was another few weeks and
Exactly.
you would be in a completely different space. Yeah. Bottom line, you need to right now examine your breasts, and if you find a lump, go to your doctor. Please, we're going to chat about the mistrust with doctors and how we can build that trust, because I know that is vitally important in this space. But please, if you have a personal perspective and you can enlighten us, 063-408-8863. We are talking about Lauren's cancer journey this morning and what it's taking to be this person right now on TV, advocating not just for herself, but most importantly for you at home. So answer that call.
It's my feel-good breakfast show.
Lauren George, as well as Dr. Emil Reid, are still with us as we continue our discussion around cancer, focusing on Lauren's very personal journey right now. To set the tone in terms of the bigger picture, currently 8.2 million people die from cancer worldwide every year, out of which 4 million are people aged 30 to 69, which feels very young in my context. Yeah. Lauren, in this journey that involves these kind of peaks and troughs of mental strength, and then I'm sure mental tests, emotional strength and emotional tests, and physical strength and physical tests, where are you right now? How are you feeling?
At this present moment, I feel okay. Bit of a headache this morning, but otherwise I feel fine. So I was having 2 treatments every 2 weeks. I'm going to be going into having my chemo every week from this Friday, actually. And with that, it gave me a couple of days of, like I say, feeling human, and then those days of feeling completely inhumane, you know, just feeling completely awful. So it really comes in bouts. It's up and down, you know. One day feeling okay. I generally feel the day after treatment, I feel quite okay. And then the Sunday after that, I take a complete knock, and yeah. So it really is highs and lows, and actually just going with it. And I find what helps me is to make the most of those in-between moments when I'm feeling okay, to do the things that I like, to spend the time with my family, with my daughter, and just enjoy a little bit.
I'm going to ask you to think about how you framed this for your daughter, so we can delve into that in just a moment, because I think that's what every parent is sitting here thinking, trying to wrap their head around, like the parent sitting next to you right there. We had a voice note coming through from Usuntu, I think. Let's hear what they had to say.
Good morning, Expresso Show. Good morning, the listeners. This is Unosintu Mcimel from Enqamakwe. Yes, I've lost a family member, a very close person in my heart, due to cancer, but I blame misinformation, because legal information that people have in the rural villages do lead to death. So if cancer can please come down to the villages and do awarenesses and campaigns on this illness. Please, please, please.
Oh, thank you so much, Nosinto, for weighing in. If you want to keep those voice notes coming, if you have any questions, 063-408-8863. Emile, when we work in this space of genetic cancer, it kind of feels like there is something being passed down, but there is such almost a roadmap being painted in terms of early detection, of knowing that there is something that needs to be done. Is there a way that we can focus on this particular space more? What do you feel the battle line is in that from a medical perspective? Where does your heart and your fire and your passion go to when you want to focus on this battle?
Well, what I want to sort of say earlier is that as soon as somebody has and been diagnosed with a cancer, it's already too late, you know, and particularly if that person are being diagnosed with an advanced form of cancer, stage 3 or stage 4, we would like, in effect, make that diagnosis in the early stages, when the cancer is still operable, when the cancer is still curable. And the only way that we can actually do that is through screening. So what the caller said earlier about misinformation is so true. Yeah. We need to spread the truth out there. We need to show our daughters how to examine their breast. We need to show our sons how to examine their testicles. And if there's any bumps or if there's any lumps, to actually seek help. And what Lauren said to me earlier is that the Sunday when she felt that lump, she was off the Monday, and immediately she went to seek help.
I just think it could have been so different.
And you know, Graham, that course of events was life-saving.
Yeah.
If she wasn't off, if she didn't go and went the next week, that cancer might have progressed, and we probably would have had a stage 2 or stage 3 cancer, whereas we had a stage 1 or a T1 without any nodal involvement and without any metastases. So the big thing is to eat healthy, to live healthy, to go for regular screening, to screen yourself. And then the other important thing about cancer is to vaccinate, because a lot of cancers are actually caused by infections, viral infections. Cervix cancer, for instance, caused by the human papilloma virus. There's a virus called the Epstein-Barr virus, which can cause lymphoma or glandular cancer. So those things are very, very important. So except for curative surgery, except for chemotherapy, the field of treatment of cancers have evolved into a space where we now have something called immunotherapy, where the body is prompted and stimulated with a factor to actually stimulate your immune system to fight the factor. So things are just getting better, but the most important thing is to get that diagnosis, and the earlier, the better.
Lauren, just very quickly, I'm going to ask you just to, if you can, repeat your mantra, and we're going to continue our discussion after the show, and we'll go onto our Instagram live platform to do that, and I think we'll go live on your platform as well. In those moments where it does feel too much, where you can feel your knees are about to give way, what do you say to yourself?
I say to myself, there's only one thing, and it's going through this. There is light at the end of the tunnel. Fortunately for me, the prognosis is good. And I get my fight from my little one. I have everything to fight for. You know, there's no reason for a mom bigger than your kids. And certainly for me, that's what I hold on to.
I think I really want to delve into how you've been able to frame this for your family and for your daughter. And if you want to continue that discussion with us, please join us straight after the show. We'll go live on our Instagram platform and Lauren's platform as well. If you want to ask any questions, especially if you are going through this journey right now. You know, we cottoned onto something a little bit earlier. I always think that people are sitting on this couch, I get to interview the survivors, these people doing these amazing things. And they are here as a hero because they survived, but it works the other way around. They survive because they're a hero. That's what happens. That's what's going on. And I can see it playing out in your life right now. So thank you so much for allowing us to open this up and continue this conversation. But now that stays open and we're going to continue this conversation for weeks. Now, please, if you want to engage with Lauren, head over onto her platform. We'll keep those details up. But this conversation is going to continue for the next few hours live on Instagram as well, straight after the show. So stick around. But we've still got a lot of show to savor until then.